NFL top kick returners of all time. There is no single play in football that is more exhilarating than a good kick return, except from a wild, game-ending, lateral-filled Hail Mary to end the game. To begin with, kick returners must be a little messed up to perform what they do. On a kickoff, 10 players, including the kicker, are barreling down on you at breakneck speed with the goal of knocking your head into the stadium's nosebleed seats. And it's even worse on a punt return, because if a gunner times his run correctly, he could get a good shot in on a punt returner who isn't paying attention. Only a few, however, were able to elevate the art of kick returning to the level of a masterpiece. While kick returners are frequently overlooked, the players shown in today's video have gained a reputation as the most electrifying players of their age, with skills so impressive that they were worth watching on game day. Let's get this video started without further ado. Michael Bates. Michael Bates is primarily remembered as a kick returner. He only returned 10 punts for a measly 44 yards. Bates, on the other hand, was a solid kick returner in his 10 years on the field, scoring 5 return touchdowns and averaging 24.4 yards per return, with a spectacular 30.2-yard average in 1996 with the Carolina Panthers. Bates' return game was exciting enough to warrant him a spot on the list, but his inability to return punts severely hurts his standing. Eric Metcalf. Eric Metcalf is better known for his punt returning skills than for his kick returning ability. He held the all-time record for punts returned for a touchdown with 10 until it was broken by Devin Hester. Metcalf was no slouch in the kick return game, though, as he returned 2 kicks for touchdowns and totaled 5,813 kick return yards, with a 20.8 yard per return average during his career. He wasn't a prolific scorer, but he was efficient. Rick Upchurch. As a punt returner, Upchurch, like Metcalf, was more effective. With 8 punts returned for touchdowns during his career, he is tied for 4th all-time. He completed his whole 9-year career in the NFL as a kicker for the Denver Broncos, with his best season coming in 1976, when he returned 4 punts for touchdowns to go along with a 13.2 yard per return average. In that season, he had a 92-yard punt return for a touchdown, which is nearly unheard of in today's NFL. Jacoby Jones. Jacoby Jones' return skills will be eternally overshadowed by his altercation with Mike Tomlin on the Steelers' bench in the 2014 season. But it's essential to remember how good Jones is when he's not evading meddling coaches. Jones is a dynamic return player who has 9 touchdown returns in his career, 4 punts and 5 kickoffs. His most memorable touchdown occurred in Super Bowl 47, when he returned a kick 109 yards to the house to start the second half and propel the Ravens to victory. Desmond Howard. Desmond Howard was supposed to be remembered for his wideout skills rather than his game-changing ability in the return game. Alas, Howard will never be remembered for his pass-catching abilities, but his 8 punt return touchdowns, tied for 4th all-time, and career 22.2 yards per kick return earned him a spot on this list. Howard's most notable accomplishment as a special teams player came in Super Bowl 31, when he won the game's MVP award for his 244 total return yards and kick return score while playing for the Green Bay Packers. Brian Mitchell. Brian Mitchell is the all-time kick return yardage leader with 14,014 yards, and the all-time punt return yardage leader with 4,999 yards. Mitchell had a knack for getting the ball into the end zone as well. He had 9 punt return touchdowns and 4 kick return touchdowns throughout his storied career as a return specialist. Mitchell was an all-purpose yardage legend, second only to Jerry Rice in all-time yardage with 23,316 yards. Mel Gray. Mel Gray made a profession as a return specialist in the NFL for 11 years, scoring the 3rd most career kick return touchdowns of all time. Gray had a number of outstanding seasons as a returner, including leading the league in kick return average, 25.8 yards per return, in 1991, and 1994, 28.4 yards per return, as well as topping the league in kick return touchdowns with 3 in 1994. Gray was also a capable punt returner, scoring 3 touchdowns in his career. Billy Johnson. Billy White Shoes Johnson is best known for his quirky touchdown celebrations, but his ability to get into the end zone after fielding a kick is what he should be remembered for. Johnson had a stellar return specialist career, scoring 6 punt return touchdowns and 2 kick return touchdowns, while twice leading the league in punt return yards per attempt, 1975 and 1977. Johnson was selected as a punt returner on the NFL's 75th anniversary team, which is impressive considering he was drafted in the 15th round. Josh Cribbs. Josh Cribbs was a founding member of the NFL's new crop or breed of returners. With the Cleveland Browns, Cribbs built a name for himself as a dangerous return man. To begin his NFL career, he surpassed 1,000 kick return yards 5 times in a row, and even led the league in all-purpose yards in 2007. Cribbs' pace has diminished somewhat since his heyday. At the very least, he may reminisce about his 3 punt return scores and 8 kick return touchdowns, tied for first all time. Gale Sayers. Gale Sayers was only in the NFL for a short time, but he left an impression in a variety of ways. Sayers has a career average of 30.6 yards per kick return, and is tied for third on the all-time list with 6 kick return touchdowns. Sayers only returned kicks for 5 of the Chicago Bears' 7 seasons. Thus, he could have climbed even higher in the record books if his career had lasted longer. From 1965 to 1967, Sayers led the league in all-purpose yards and returned 2 punts for touchdowns. Ollie Matson. Ollie Matson may not be a household name among today's football fans, but those who grew up in the 1950s and 1960s will remember him as the era's offensive weapon, a player who can contribute to the game in a variety of ways. Matson had a total of 9 return touchdowns, 3 punts and 6 kicks. Matson's outstanding punt return line in 1955, when he led the league in punt return yards, average yards per punt, and punts returned for touchdown, as well as a dazzling 35.5 yards per kick return average in 1958, are noteworthy. Leon Washington. Let's face it, Leon Washington didn't appear to be a kick returner. On 4th and inches, he appeared to be the player you'd hand the ball to if you wanted to trudge forward for a first down. Washington ended up becoming one of the best returners of all time, proving that appearances can be deceiving. With 8 career kick returns for touchdowns, he shares the record with Josh Cribbs, and he never averaged less than 24 yards per kick return during his peak seasons as a returner. Dante Hall. It would be tight, but if another list of the most electrifying kick returners of all time were to be created, Dante Hall would undoubtedly be in the running for first place. Hall's talent is undeniable, even if the majority of his output came in only 6 seasons with the Chiefs. He had 6 punt return touchdowns and 6 kick return touchdowns in his career, and he led the NFL in all-purpose yards in 2003 and 2004. Deion Sanders. On the football field, Deion Sanders did it all. When he wasn't returning interceptions for touchdowns, he was returning punts and kicks for touchdowns. Prime Time was one of the greatest punt returners of all time, as seen by his 6 punt return touchdowns and 3 kick return touchdowns. Sanders' ability to break off enormous chunks of yardage in the return game was enhanced by the fact that he was doing so while still being one of the league's best defensive players at the time. Devin Hester. Did you honestly believe anyone else could possibly be at the top of this list? When it comes to kickoff returns, Devin Hester is the clear world champion. With 20 total touchdowns, he holds the record: 14 punts, good for first all time, and 6 kicks. When Hester trotted out onto the field to receive a kick, he was a feared returner. Few players in NFL history have had the kind of game-breaking ability that Devin Hester has delivered to the league throughout his 9-year career. That concludes today's video. If you believe we missed any players, please let us know in the comments area. If you liked the video, please like it and subscribe to the channel so that you can see more such content. Thank you for watching.